Hey, soldiers, I want to keep you focused on de-dollarization. And listen, there are a lot of people out there who are saying, oh, that's overblown. We're not going to have any problems. The dollar will be just fine. I don't know what vested interest these individuals have in saying that because they're not stupid people. But it's like they're ignoring things that are happening in real time. For example, the SWIFT messaging system that financial transactions are executed through, pretty much a US and West based system that other countries have been shut out of. Well, now they are. Iran is actually out there creating an alternative. Russia has created an alternative along with Belarus. So this is a diminishment. I'm not going to say a death, but a diminishment by 1,000 cuts, because we're not going to, a lot of people think that if you're talking de-dollarization, then what you must mean is that you think the dollar is going to disappear. I do not believe that. I do believe that the dollar and the infrastructure, the global infrastructure, financial infrastructure that has been basically the purview of the West up until here recently, I think that is going to become multipolar. So you're going to have several SWIFT systems, SWIFT-like systems. You're going to have at least a couple of competing currencies. Now, is this going to happen overnight? Absolutely not. But the metrics to watch, I keep saying this, and I don't know why these so-called experts don't bring these two metrics up more often. Number one, the amount of US dollars held in reserve by other countries. That percentage has been dropping. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 58%. We were up in the 62% range just a couple of years ago. The trend has been downward for well over a decade now. But that descent has accelerated of late, naturally, because of the moves that the United States of America has made with regard to weaponization of the dollar. Now, what does this all mean for you? Well, when the dollar becomes less attractive, all right, and things like a commodities-backed currency or gold become more preferable, and some experts said, well, if you have another currency, what are you going to buy with it? U.S. denominated stocks? Sure, you could do that. You could buy gold like the central banks are doing, or you could buy, you could go out and buy stocks of U.S. companies, but that does not mean that you're buying treasuries, okay, of the United States. So, listen, the world is changing. Is it going to be a light switch where we wake up one morning and all the dollars have come back home and, we're in this crazy situation where inflation is just out of control due to that? No, this is going to be a continuing slide of the dollar losing percentage points in terms of its reserve currency holdings around the world. And the other metric is this, the amount of transactions denominated in dollars, okay? That's somewhere near 80%. I think we're going to fall down to the 70% range by 2030, along with that descent in dollar reserves held by other countries. Okay, so the dollar is definitely losing prominence. And to believe otherwise is to do yourself a great disservice. Now, we're going to talk about yet another manifestation of other countries backing away from the United States of America. Okay, they just don't want to deal with it anymore, especially since we haven't even learned our lesson with regard to these capricious sanctions. We put all these sanctions on Russia. You would have thought they would have succumbed to Ukraine. We're putting sanctions on Russia left and right, and we're funding Ukraine to the tune of, homeless people in America are not getting near, what the Ukrainians are getting. So you got a lot of money and equipment going into Ukraine, and some people are going to say, well, you're wrong about that. They're not giving them money. Listen, if I'm giving you brand new military equipment, come on. All right, let's be real here. All right. If I'm talking about, and they are discussing, giving Ukraine F-16s. F-16s aren't free, all right? Those cost money. So yes, we are giving Ukraine billions of dollars, all right? But this thing is at a stalemate. And I think the United States actually, the powers that be, they enjoy that. NATO, they like that. They like a constant state of martial conflict. That's one of the reasons why Donald Trump has been indicted. It's because he didn't start any new wars. He didn't feed that vast military industrial complex. He didn't play the game. We always got to have an enemy, right? And here this guy went and walked across the demilitarized zone in North Korea and actually shook hands with Kim Jong-un. We're supposed to be afraid of him. He's supposed to be the next, villain in waiting, okay? Just in case we need to pull a war out of our pocket, okay, to feed the industrial military complex. But Trump didn't start any new wars. So we've got a situation where we've got, forever war, just like Orwell predicted. Guys, go ahead and hit subscribe. I thank all of the subscribers. And if you aren't a soldier of finance just yet, it's easy to become one. Enlist, hit the button that says subscribe. Let me know you did so in the comments. I will salute you. Hey guys, the join button, that's our members section where we're doing a lot to teach you how to maintain your path along the road to financial independence. If you've got an Apple product, you're not going to see that join button. What you need to do is pull up a separate session of Chrome, and then you can go about hitting the join button from there. Apple, they always got to be different, right? Always got to be one step more complicated, at least, than everyone else. All right, and I want to also let you guys know that I want to issue a correction. Now, I don't watch the news, but it's important that I get stuff right, okay? So that's one of the reasons why we come at you with stuff maybe a day late, because to me, it's more important to be accurate than it is to be first, okay? Now, we reported, and I waited a few days on this to report it, but it was uncovered to be not accurate. Remember when we talked about the homeless veterans being kicked out of a hotel in New York? Actually, that was not an accurate account of what happened, okay? So, several sources have said, varying sources have said that was not the case. That did not occur. So I want to put that out there. I will be 100% honest with you guys at all times, even if we have to go back and I have to correct something, okay? So just a little house cleaning there. Now, get this. The Asian central banks are going to adopt Iran's SWIFT alternative as de-dollarization continues. I don't know how anyone could argue that we're not seeing de-dollarization. I don't know how anybody can seriously argue that. And if you feel that way, by the time we get to the end of this report, I think you're going to feel differently. In the latest shot fired in the growing rebellion against U.S. dollar dominance, the 9-nation Asian Clearinghouse Union has agreed to use Iran's financial messaging system as an alternative to the dollar-denominated SWIFT system. The Secretary General of the Asian Clearing Union says Iran's financial messaging system, SEPAM, S-E-P-A-M, will replace SWIFT, a dollar-based international system, in trade exchanges between ACU members beginning next month, July. This is according to Iran's IRNA news agency. At a Tehran summit in May, ACU members agreed to establish a SWIFT alternative within a month. The adoption of Iran's SEPAM will be an interim measure as the ACU will develop its own messaging system over the next several months, okay? Yeah, other countries have infrastructure too. They have know-how as well. And they're using it now. Not everybody, but a lot of these countries were comfortable existing under the hegemony of the dollar. But then Joe Biden had to come in and screw all of that up with the sanctions. This is why people are saying, why should we be so exposed to this dollar when they can come in and just knock our house down if they want to. Why should we, if we really have the interest of our country, at heart, why should we continue to expose ourselves to this when they have played their hand and shown us what they will do in the event they don't like some policy we enact? And it's not just foreign policy. Remember, you've got the sanctions placed on Russia, okay, because of the obvious reason, okay, the invasion of Ukraine. Then you've also got the Biden administration talking about placing sanctions. So Russia's a foreign policy issue, but you've got the Biden administration also talking about placing sanctions on certain African countries because of domestic policies that they've instituted with regard to assaults of a certain nature that we're not going to mention here, committed by a certain demographic within their society. We did a report on it. Guys, I'll link to it at some point. So we see the United States interfering in foreign and domestic policies, okay, attacking financial infrastructure of any country that they don't like what they're doing. It's like me walking across a few fields here and going into my neighbor's house and saying, hey, I don't like what you're serving for dinner tonight. I think that it's too rich. It's got a little bit too many calories in it, and we don't eat that way over at our house. We don't do that thing at our crib. So all these sweets and whatnot you got laid out here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to block you from making withdrawals from your bank account for the next 2 weeks. And if you want your money, you can talk to me about changing your diet. Okay. Now, if I had control over that person's finances, I could do something like that, right? If I'm acting like the United States. So yeah, they said no, you can't have control anymore. And I know that analogy was kind of ham-handed, but work with me, guys. This is on the fly, right? This is not a major news network where they tell me what to say. I have to come at you, off the cuff sometime. Established in 1974, the ACU now comprises the central banks of India, Pakistan, Iran, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Maldives, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Bhutan. Belarus and Mauritius applied for ACU membership at the May summit meeting. Along with Russia and Belarus, Iran has been excluded from SWIFT as part of U.S. economic sanctions. Russia and Iran have established their own alternative connection, linking Iran's SEPAM with the financial messaging system of the Bank of Russia. You know what else I just thought of that's kind of funny? You've got a lot of liberals out there attacking conservatives for boycotting Target and Budweiser. That's a form of sanctions. Okay, I know someone who's attacking conservatives for that reason, but supports, the sanctions that Biden has put on the regime over in Russia. Okay, how does that work? How do you square that circle? The conservatives are just sanctioning Bud Light and Target. You either you agree with sanctions or you don't. You can't just agree with them when they work, in a way that you think you want them to work. Okay. All right. So the Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak told press outlets that, quote, approximately 80% of our mutual settlements are in national currencies, reals and rubles. The broad de-dollarization trend is the inevitable result of the U.S. government's knee-jerk use of economic warfare to punish countries that resist its agenda. The quantity of U.S. sanctions exploded by 933% between 2000 and 2021. You needn't be a current target of U.S. sanctions to be attracted to non-dollar trade initiatives. That's absolutely correct. In fact, if you're not a target right now, you're probably thinking, whew, they didn't come at us yet. So let's change some things before we decide to do something they don't like. America, okay? This is the land where we are having drag queen story hour at military bases and in primary schools, and we've got the nerve to tell other countries what they should be doing. Okay. We've got a problem here with homelessness and crime like you would not believe. And we've got the nerve to be telling other countries what they should be doing with their domestic policy. It's fine for you to express disagreement. If you don't agree with something, fine. Okay. But make sure your own house is clean before you start doing something like that. Quote, in the face of the American empire's relentless and compulsive use of sanctions to punish non-compliance with its edicts, any rational government would be wary of the possibility of being targeted over some future controversy with Washington, wrote Ben McGlinchey at Stark Realities. The ACU's move follows a growing assortment of other de-dollarization initiatives around the globe, as cataloged by the Cradle's Pepe Escobar. A sampling includes, this is a sampling of recent de-dollarization moves. We talked about all of these. China and France's total trading liquid natural gas for yuans. It's the first time in history that you've seen that. And we got a story for you on France coming up in the next report. Don't miss it. Russia and China using the ruble or yuan for more than 70% of their trade. India and Russia trading oil in rupees. And I hear people say, oh, the rupee. The yuan, the ruble. I hear a lot of that. But yeah, they might not be so prominent right now. But it seems like these countries are trying to make them that way. And there was a time before the 20th century when people said the same thing about the dollar. Okay. And then it rose to power. There was a time before the British pound was the world's reserve currency, when Spain had it. Okay, the pound. Come on, get real. So these prognosticators, they don't look too far down the chessboard. Brazil's Banco BBM becoming the first Latin American bank to join China's SWIFT alternative, the cross-border interbank payment system. 19 countries applying to join BRICS, the geopolitical rival to the G7 that originally comprised Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So a lot of other countries want to join that. Okay. At the end of the day, maybe they'll change the name to, I don't know, Liberia, Gibraltar, Brazil, Tanzania. Plus, oh, wait a minute, that acronym is taken. They'll have to think of something else. But the list is getting very, very large of countries that want to ally with the BRICS nations. So the times, they are a-changing. Okay, guys, look, we did a video on we're having this turmoil occur economically with other countries turning away from our dollar. Then we've got self-inflicted wounds because we refuse to enforce crime the way it should be enforced, okay? And so it's now started to have an economic impact, a negative one at that, on the United States of America. California especially. We've got yet another corporation that is giving back the keys, saying we're not going to pay any more on this mortgage because we need to get out of here. It's just not working out. Crime, homelessness, people with mental challenges, and the situation is devolving and no one seems to want to do anything about it. So we're not paying on this mortgage. We're out of here. And you won't believe who just did that. Check out that video, guys. I'll talk to you soon.